The wind howled across the jagged cliffs of the alien planet, carrying with it a scent that was at once metallic and strangely sweet. Captain Elias Thorne adjusted the straps of his armor, his eyes fixed on the massive structure looming ahead. The temple was carved directly into the mountain, its gates impossibly tall, etched with glowing runes that pulsed like a heartbeat. Legends said the temple opened only for those worthy, legends, beings of courage, wisdom, or destiny, and no human had ever been called worthy. Beside him, Lyra moved with the quiet grace of royalty, though the tension in her shoulders betrayed the fear she tried to hide. The princess of an interstellar empire. She had faced enemies more powerful than most could imagine, yet this place unsettled her. The air hummed with energy, and every step toward the temple felt heavier than the last. "We've made it this far," Elias said, his voice low but steady. "Nothing says we can't make it through." He glanced at Lyra, offering a smile that carried both reassurance and defiance. "Sometimes rules are meant to be broken." Lyra's violet eyes studied the runes. "You don't understand, Elias. These gates, they aren't just doors. They judge you. They can see your heart, your mind, your courage. If we fail..." She didn't finish, but the implication hung in the air. Elias rested a hand on the temple's surface. It was warmer than expected, almost alive. The runes shifted beneath his fingers, tiny sparks of light darting along their edges.
"I've faced worse than judgmental doors," he muttered, pushing forward.
And besides, we're not just anyone. The local guides who had led them this far, alien beings with scales glinting in the sunlight, whispered among themselves. "He is human," one hissed.
She is a princess. Together.
Perhaps they are the ones the prophecy spoke of. "Prophecy?" Elias asked, raising an eyebrow. Lyra's lips tightened. "Legends say only a human who walks with an alien princess can awaken the temple. It is said they must face trials of mind and body, and the gates themselves must decide if they are worthy." Elias laughed softly. "Sounds like my kind of challenge."
The temple gates remained unmoved, the glowing runes throbbing steadily.
Elias stepped closer, his hand hovering above the largest glyph. The air around it shimmered, almost pulsing in time with his heartbeat. And then, slowly, impossibly, the gates began to shift. A low rumble echoed through the mountains as the massive doors creaked and parted. Lyra's breath caught. "It's opening," she whispered. Elias looked back at her, grinning. Sometimes being human is about just walking forward when everyone else hesitates.
They stepped inside, and the air changed instantly.
Gone was the biting wind, replaced by a warm glow that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The corridors stretched endlessly, lit by floating orbs of light that hovered silently. The walls shifted subtly, as if the temple itself was alive, watching, assessing. Their first steps echoed through the chamber. Elias led the way, instincts sharp. "Stay close."
"This place, it's not just a building. It's a test."
Lyra nodded, her hand brushing against the cold stone. She could feel something beneath the surface of the temple, something ancient and powerful. Her psychic abilities hummed faintly in response, a warning that danger could come from anywhere. They reached a fork in the corridor. To the left, a shimmering doorway framed by more glowing runes. To the right, a stairwell descending into darkness. The runes at the left doorway flickered in patterns she did not recognize. Elias studied the options. Left feels obvious. Right feels like trouble. Which one screams legendary to you? Lyra hesitated. The temple does not judge by instinct. It chooses by insight. We must understand its tests, not just react to them. Elias smirked. "Insight, right. Let's see if I have any of that today." He stepped toward the left doorway. As soon as he crossed the threshold, the floor shifted beneath his feet, revealing a series of floating platforms suspended over a bottomless chasm. Each platform shimmered with energy, and stepping off the wrong one could send them plummeting into darkness. Lyra froze. "Elias, be careful," he smiled, measuring the distance with a glance. Then, in a series of confident leaps, he crossed the platforms, landing safely on the last one. Human reflexes.
Nothing fancy, just trust your instincts.
Lyra followed, focusing her psychic energy to sense which platforms were stable. Her powers guided her safely, and for the first time she truly understood the strength humans could possess beyond technology or training. The next chamber was darker, the air thick with a strange energy. Holographic figures appeared, warriors of the past, their eyes glowing with eerie light. They swung swords and fired energy bolts, forcing Elias and Lyra to move with precision and quick thinking. Elias ducked, rolled, and countered, using the temple's structure to his advantage. He improvised, leaping over traps and deflecting attacks with simple tools he had carried in his pack. His tactics were not elegant, but they were effective. Lyra, her psychic abilities now in full use, projected shields and manipulated the temple's energy to disrupt the holograms. Their teamwork was seamless, unplanned yet perfect. They moved as one, human intuition and alien power complementing each other in ways neither fully understood. When the final hologram fell, the chamber's walls shimmered and dissolved, revealing a new passageway. The temple had recognized their abilities, their courage, their bond, and with each challenge, it seemed to grow more curious about them. As they advanced, they encountered inscriptions along the walls. They told stories of heroes, beings who had walked through impossible trials, and of the cosmic artifact that lay at the temple's heart, a device capable of reshaping the galaxy. The inscriptions hinted at a prophecy, one that spoke of a human and an alien princess walking together to awaken the artifact. Lyra traced the runes with her fingers, her voice barely audible. This speaks of us. I don't know if it is luck or destiny."
Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "Destiny or not, we walk through together."
That's enough! The corridor narrowed and the air grew warmer, vibrating with power.
Shadows flickered at the edges of their vision, and Elias knew instinctively that the tests were far from over. The temple would not yield its secrets easily. Suddenly, the floor beneath them began to shift again, forming a spiral staircase descending into a glowing chasm. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, and Elias felt it resonate deep within him. The temple was alive, assessing their every movement, their every thought. Lyra's hand found his. "We can do this," she said, her confidence growing. "Together. That's the plan." As they began their descent, a low, resonant voice filled the chamber, not spoken aloud, but echoing in their minds. "Legends, approach. Only those worthy may walk further." "Guess we're legends now." Lyra gave him a small, reluctant smile. Despite the tension, despite the danger, she felt something she had never felt before. Hope, and not just hope for survival, but hope that humanity and her people could stand together against the impossible. The spiral staircase ended in a vast hall. The walls glowed with runes that shifted in real time, almost as if reading their thoughts. In the center of the hall was a massive door, more intricate than any they had seen, adorned with symbols that seemed to move when observed from different angles. Elias stepped forward, placing his hand on the door. The runes flared brightly, then dimmed. Slowly, the door began to open, just enough for them to step inside. Inside, the chamber was vast and empty, save for the faint hum of energy. The air felt thick, alive, waiting. The temple's tests had only just begun, but Elias and Lyra had passed the first trial: trust, courage, and unity. Lyra looked at Elias, a mix of admiration and relief in her eyes. "I thought humans were reckless," she said softly. "But you have something else. Something extraordinary. Elias chuckled.
Reckless? Maybe.
But we survive. That's what counts. The temple walls shifted again, and a voice, soft yet commanding, whispered through the chamber. The path opens to those who walk with courage, but greater trials await. Only the unity of legend may awaken the temple's heart.
Then we keep walking.
Together, she nodded, and they moved forward, unaware of the deeper trials ahead, unaware of the prophecy slowly beginning to unfold. Outside, the wind howled over the cliffs, but inside, the temple hummed, alive and aware. It had opened for legends, and a human had walked through with an alien princess. For the first time, the impossible seemed within reach. The hall stretched endlessly, its walls glowing with an ever-changing pattern of runes. Elias and Lyra walked cautiously, the faint hum of energy filling the air like the heartbeat of a living creature. Every step they took seemed to echo louder than before, and shadows flickered at the corners of their vision. The temple was testing them, not just their strength, but their patience, their judgment, and the bond between them. Elias paused, examining a series of glowing symbols etched along the wall. These runes, they're some kind of puzzle, he said, tracing one with his gloved fingers. It's like the temple wants us to think, not just move. Her psychic senses tingled. It's not just a puzzle, it's alive. The temple responds to intention, to emotion. If we act recklessly, it could punish us. Elias chuckled softly. Since when did we ever play it safe? The first challenge came suddenly. The floor beneath them split open, revealing a deep pit filled with swirling energy. From the pit rose platforms, floating in midair, shimmering like liquid metal. They formed a path across the chasm, but they shifted constantly, some sinking, while others rose unexpectedly. Elias examined them. Okay, nothing tricky, just timing. We step, we move, we don't fall. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly as she reached out with her mind, sensing which platforms were stable. The energy shifted in response, revealing a safe path. Careful. It's not just physical. The platforms react to doubt, fear, hesitation. Focus! Elias grinned. Doubt? Never heard of it. Step by step, they moved across the platforms. Elias's movements were bold and precise, guided by intuition and experience. Lyra followed, her psychic senses adjusting each step to maintain balance. They reached the other side without incident, but the temple seemed to hum in approval, as if it had acknowledged their cooperation. The next chamber was darker, the air thick with an oppressive energy. Holographic figures appeared, warriors clad in armor from a dozen different worlds, each one wielding strange weapons that glowed with alien power. The figures attacked without warning, their strikes fast and relentless. Elias moved instinctively, ducking and rolling, using the walls for cover. He swung a staff he had picked up along the way, knocking energy blades aside. Stay close, watch their patterns. Lyra projected psychic shields, manipulating the energy of the chamber to deflect attacks. Her powers were not just defensive. She subtly guided Elias's movements, anticipating where danger would strike next. Together they became a single unit, human ingenuity and alien power complementing each other seamlessly. Hours, or maybe minutes, it was impossible to tell, passed as they fought through the chamber. The holograms adapted to their strategies, forcing them to think creatively. Elias used objects in the environment to his advantage, toppling pillars and creating barriers. Lyra focused her energy to confuse the holograms, giving them a chance to advance. When the last hologram fell, the chamber walls dissolved, revealing a new corridor bathed in a soft golden light. The temple had judged them capable, at least for now. They walked in silence for a while, the tension slowly easing. Lyra broke it.
You are unlike any human I have ever known.
Your courage, your ability to adapt, it is extraordinary. Elias shrugged, a small smile playing on his lips. I'm just stubborn and lucky. It is more than that. Humans survive where others fail. You find solutions when none exist. That is what the temple recognizes. They reached a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in shadow. In the center floated a large crystal, pulsating with energy. As they approached, spectral guardians appeared, larger and more imposing than anything they had faced. They did not attack immediately, but blocked the path forward, waiting, testing. Elias stepped forward, speaking aloud, though the guardians did not respond. We are not here to steal, not here to destroy. We are here to prove ourselves worthy. The guardians reacted, moving as if assessing his words. Then, without warning, the ground trembled and a series of traps activated. Massive stone slabs fell from the ceiling. Energy beams shot across the room, and walls began to close in. Elias ducked, rolled, and used his staff to block a falling slab, pushing it aside just in time. Lyra lifted her hands, creating psychic shields that absorbed the energy beams, bending them harmlessly into the walls. "Careful," she shouted. "The floor. Step on the wrong tile, and it will collapse." Elias glanced down, noting the subtle patterns in the tiles. Noted.
Whoa!
Let's dance. They moved quickly, every step a calculated risk. Elias relied on instinct and observation. Lyra relied on psychic intuition. Together they advanced, overcoming one trap after another. The temple seemed to respond to their success, the energy in the chamber shifting to accommodate their progress. Finally, they reached the crystal. Its surface shimmered, reflecting their forms. Elias reached out, and the crystal pulsed in response. Lyra placed her hand on his, and the energy surged between them, connecting their minds for a brief moment. Images flashed before their eyes, visions of stars, civilizations rising and falling, and a human and an alien princess walking side by side, awakening a power that could change the galaxy. The prophecy was real, and they were living it. Elias pulled his hand back, breathless.
I don't understand all of that, but I know one thing. We are in this together.
Lyra nodded. Yes, together. The crystal dissolved into a stream of energy that flowed into the walls, and the chamber transformed. A hidden staircase descended further into the temple, glowing softly. The path was open, but the trials were far from over. As they descended, Elias spoke quietly. You ever get the feeling that the temple isn't just a place, that it's alive?
Ooh.
Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. I feel it. It watches, learns, reacts.
It is a test, yes, but also something more.
Something that judges character, spirit, and unity. They reached a new hall, where the air grew heavier, charged with a strange energy that made their muscles tense. At the center floated a sphere of light, spinning slowly, casting shadows that danced across the walls. Around it, inscriptions glowed in a language neither fully understood, yet both could sense their meaning. Sacrifice, courage, and trust. The sphere began to rotate faster, and from it emerged spectral creatures, each representing a fear or doubt they carried within themselves. Elias saw visions of failure, of being abandoned, of losing Lyra. Lyra saw visions of political betrayal, the collapse of her empire, and the death of those she loved. Fear, Elias muttered. The temple wants us to face fear itself. Lyra's hand found his. Then, we face it, together. They stepped forward, confronting the spectral creatures. Elias swung his staff, striking at the illusions with determination. Lyra's psychic powers projected barriers and directed the energy of the chamber, dispelling shadows. Each strike they made was fueled not just by skill, but by courage and trust. The creatures shrieked and dissolved into light, leaving the spheres spinning calmly once more.
The temple had tested their hearts, and they had passed. Elias exhaled, wiping sweat from his brow.
I think it likes us.
Lyra allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps. But the greatest challenge is yet to come. I can feel it.
The temple's heart lies ahead. They moved forward, their bond strengthened by the trials, their confidence growing.
Each challenge revealed the strengths of humanity, adaptability, courage, and the ability to unite with others even in impossible circumstances. As they entered the next corridor, the walls shimmered with light, revealing a new inscription. Only together can the heart awaken.
Only unity can shape destiny. Elias glanced at Lyra, determination shining in his eyes.
We're ready. No matter what comes next, we face it together. Lyra nodded, her hand tightening on his. Yes, together. And as they stepped into the deeper shadows of the temple, neither knew what awaited them, only that their journey was far from over, and that the true test of courage, wisdom, and unity had only just begun. The deeper they ventured, the heavier the air became, charged with energy that made every movement a small effort. The temple seemed to watch their every step, its walls shifting subtly, glowing with runes that danced in patterns too complex to understand at a glance. Elias and Lyra moved cautiously, their senses alert, hearts synchronized in anticipation. Every step forward was a step into uncertainty. Elias ran a hand over the smooth stone of the corridor, feeling the faint vibrations under his fingers.
It's like the temple is alive, he muttered.
I can feel it. Watching us. Testing us. Lyra's violet eyes glimmered with focus. It is alive. But more than that, it responds to us, to our choices. Every decision shapes what comes next. We cannot fail now. Ahead, the corridor opened into a vast chamber, the size of which they could not comprehend. In its center floated a massive orb, pulsating with a brilliant blue light. The energy radiated in waves, filling the room with warmth and an almost musical hum. Around it, the floor was covered in a shifting pattern of tiles, each glowing with different colors. It was immediately clear that stepping wrong could trigger a trap. Or worse. Elias glanced at Lyra, his jaw set. Looks like another test. Something tells me it's more than just physical. Lyra nodded, extending her psychic senses toward the orb. She could feel the immense power contained within it, a force that could reshape planets, even star systems. But it was not merely a weapon. It was a test. A challenge meant to see who was worthy of controlling it. The first step onto the tiles activated a series of shifting platforms, rising and falling in unpredictable patterns. Each tile's color signaled a different reaction. Red tiles released energy bursts, blue ones dissolved under pressure, and yellow ones shifted location.
Elias studied the tiles carefully, noting patterns in the chaos. It's like a puzzle.
Timing, observation, and a little bit of trust in luck. He leapt onto a stable yellow tile, then another, moving with a confident rhythm. Lyra followed, her psychic senses guiding her. She could sense the energy of each tile, anticipating which ones were safe. Her mind and Elias's instincts aligned perfectly as they moved forward. Halfway across, the temple reacted violently. Energy surged through the floor, forcing them to leap further than they expected. A red tile erupted beneath Elias's feet, sending him sliding dangerously close to a collapsing platform. Lyra's psychic shield flared, cushioning his fall. "Careful!" she shouted.
It reacts to fear. Keep calm.
Elias smirked, despite the danger. Fear. That's just dinner conversation in my world.
He leapt again, landing safely beside her.
The temple's challenge had become not just about skill, but trust. Trust in each other, in themselves, and in the path ahead. At last, they reached the orb. Its surface rippled as though it were liquid, responding to their presence. They could feel it, a pulsing awareness, judging their courage, their unity. Before they could touch it, the chamber trembled violently. The air shimmered, and a portal opened at the far end. From it emerged a figure they had hoped never to see again, Warlord Kale, the merciless hunter who had pursued Lyra across star systems. His armor gleamed darkly, and his eyes burned with cold calculation.
So,
Kale said, his voice echoing through the chamber, "You've reached the temple."
bold, foolish, or both.
Elias stepped forward, placing himself between Lyra and the Warlord. "We're not here to fight you, but if you try, we'll stop you." Kale laughed, a harsh, cruel sound. "Stop me? You?"
I have conquered worlds, crushed armies, and you expect to stand against me? The temple will be mine."
The orb reacted violently, sending waves of energy that knocked both sides back. The temple itself seemed to intervene, creating barriers of light and shifting the floor to keep them apart. Elias gritted his teeth, realizing that the battle would be as much a test of their ability to work with the temple as it would be against Kale. The warlord advanced, striking with weapons that glowed with energy, slicing through walls and floor as he moved. Elias dodged, countering with quick strikes, using both agility and improvised tactics. Lyra's psychic shields deflected attacks and sent pulses of energy to destabilize Kale's footing.
You think your tricks can beat me?
Kale roared, swinging a massive blade. Elias barely rolled out of the way, feeling the heat of the attack. Lyra's eyes glowed as she concentrated.
"It's not just us, Elias. The temple reacts to us."
"We can use it," Elias nodded, seeing the patterns in the energy. The floor tiles, the pulsing walls, the orb itself, they all responded to their combined efforts. "Together, then," he shouted. They moved as one, Elias guiding Kale into traps that the temple created spontaneously, while Lyra manipulated energy flows to push him back. It was a dance of intuition and psychic control, human courage and alien power intertwined. Kyle recovered quickly, his strikes faster and more brutal. "You are nothing! The temple cannot save you!" But Elias had learned something during their trials. The temple rewarded creativity and unpredictability. He dashed toward a column and pulled a glowing shard from it, throwing it toward the orb. The shard absorbed some of the orb's energy, creating a burst of light that blinded KL momentarily. Lyra seized the moment, directing a surge of psychic force through the chamber. The walls shifted, closing in on Kale and forcing him to retreat. He cursed loudly, clearly unprepared for their combined ingenuity. Elias pressed forward. "You humans adapt. That's what we do best." The warlord roared and struck again, but every attack he made was anticipated, countered, and redirected. Elias and Lyra's bond had become their greatest weapon, trusting one another implicitly, moving in sync, their hearts and minds aligned. Finally, Kale stumbled, caught between the temple's shifting barriers and their coordinated assault. With a final desperate effort, he lunged at the orb, but Elias intercepted him, tackling him away. The orb pulsed violently, and a beam of energy enveloped Kale, holding him suspended as the temple seemed to judge his intent. "You are not worthy," a deep voice echoed in their minds. The temple itself spoke, its tone both stern and final.
"Your heart is filled with greed and fear. You will not pass."
Kael struggled, but the temple's energy held him in place. Elias and Lyra watched as he was slowly ejected from the chamber, the portal closing behind him. For a moment, silence reigned. Elias exhaled, sweat dripping from his brow. That was close. Lyra touched the orb. It pulsed under her fingers, warm and responsive. The temple recognizes unity, courage, and sacrifice. We have proven ourselves, at least for now, but I sense the greatest trial is still ahead. The chamber shifted again, walls moving to reveal a descending stairway. The orb's light dimmed, pointing the way forward. Elias glanced at Lyra.
Ready for more?
Lyra nodded, her confidence strengthened by the trials. Yes, whatever comes, we face it together. They descended, the staircase spiraling into darkness. As they moved, the temple seemed to hum in approval, the runes on the walls glowing brighter with each step. It was as if it acknowledged not just their abilities, but their bond. At the bottom of the stairs, they entered a new chamber, larger than any they had seen. At its center floated a pedestal, and upon it rested an object shrouded in light. The air vibrated with power, and Elias could feel the pull of the artifact, even from a distance. Lyra whispered, "The heart of the temple." Elias nodded. "And whatever this is, it's bigger than anything we've faced." The chamber walls flickered, revealing visions of past heroes who had attempted the trials. Many had failed, their courage insufficient, their unity lacking. The temple had tested them all, and now it tested Elias and Lyra. They stepped forward together, hand in hand, approaching the pedestal. The light around the artifact seemed to respond to their presence, growing brighter as their hands touched it. A wave of energy coursed through them, filling their minds with visions of galaxies, civilizations, and the possibilities of the future. But with the power came a warning. Only those willing to risk everything, personal safety, pride, and even life, could awaken the temple's full potential. Elias looked at Lyra, determination shining in his eyes.
We've come this far. We can't turn back now.
Lyra nodded. Together, always together. As their hands pressed against the artifact, the chamber trembled, light surging in all directions. The temple's ultimate test had begun, not just of strength or skill, but of trust, unity, and the willingness to sacrifice. And in that moment, Elias understood why the prophecy had chosen a human and an alien princess. It was not just about survival, not just about courage. It was about the combination of human adaptability and alien insight, working together to face the impossible. The temple had opened for legends, and legends were exactly who they had become. The chamber pulsed with light, so bright it hurt to look directly at the artifact. Elias and Lyra stood together, hands clasped, hearts pounding. The energy hummed around them, vibrating through the floor, the walls, and even through the air itself. It was as if the temple itself was alive, watching, judging, and waiting for the final decision. Lyra's violet eyes glowed as she reached out with her psychic abilities, sensing the immense power contained in the artifact.
Elias, this isn't just energy.
It's creation. We could reshape entire systems, entire civilizations. But it's dangerous. One mistake, one hesitation. Elias swallowed hard, his jaw tight. I know. But we've faced worse odds, haven't we? His gaze met hers. Together, we can handle this. The temple responded, walls shifting and light swirling around them. A voice echoed, deep and resonant, though it spoke not aloud, but directly into their minds. Only those willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good may awaken the heart. Only unity forged in courage and trust may succeed. Elias felt the weight of the words. Sacrifice. That was the final trial. The artifact would test them not with puzzles or combat, but with the willingness to risk everything for what was right. Before they could move closer, the floor trembled violently. A portal opened behind them, and through it strode Warlord Kale once more. His armor glimmered with stolen energy, his eyes burning with rage and greed.
You think you can claim that power?
You are fools! Lyra's hands glowed as she projected a psychic shield between them and the Warlord.
Elias, we can't let him reach it.
Elias grinned grimly. Don't worry. I've got a plan. Kyle lunged forward, energy blade swinging. Elias dodged, rolling across the floor, then leapt onto a raised platform near the artifact. The energy around him pulsed in response, almost as if recognizing the human's audacity. Lyra focused, channeling her psychic powers into the chamber itself. The walls shifted, creating barriers of light and energy that slowed Kale's advance. Every step he took triggered traps from the temple, though his strength allowed him to avoid most of them. Elias reached out toward the artifact. The moment his fingers brushed its surface, a surge of energy shot through him, nearly knocking him off balance. He gritted his teeth, feeling the overwhelming power trying to consume him. Lyra's hand found his, lending him strength, focus, and courage. "You can do it," she said firmly. "Together."
"We have to do this together." The artifact pulsed brighter, responding to their combined presence.
Energy swirled around them, forming patterns that were almost like a living map of the galaxy. Stars, planets, and civilizations shimmered in the light. The visions showed both potential and danger, what could be created and what could be destroyed. Kale roared, striking again with his energy blade. Elias blocked it with his staff, deflecting the blow. "Humans adapt," he muttered, "and we improvise." He kicked off a wall, launching himself at Kale and pushing him back. Lyra's psychic powers surged, lifting the warlord off his feet momentarily and sending him crashing against the wall. He scrambled, furious, but the temple itself intervened. Tiles beneath him sank, walls shifted, and energy beams forced him back. The temple was no longer a passive test. It had become an ally, protecting those worthy of its power. Elias turned to the artifact again.
"Now, Lyra, we have to activate it together."
Their hands pressed firmly on the artifact's surface. The chamber shook violently, light exploding in every direction.
A wave of energy enveloped both of them, and for a moment, the world seemed to vanish. They saw visions of countless civilizations, all connected by the flow of energy from the temple. They felt the potential to heal worlds, to create peace, to build something greater than any one species could achieve alone. But with the power came the price. The temple demanded sacrifice, not of life, but of control. They had to relinquish personal desire, pride, and fear, letting the artifact guide them. Elias looked at Lyra. "We can do this. Trust the temple. Trust ourselves." Lyra nodded, her grip tightening. "Yes, trust together." Energy surged through their bodies, and for a brief instant they felt as if they were one being, human and alien. Courage and wisdom intertwined. The artifact responded, its energy flowing outward in a brilliant cascade, reshaping the chamber, the temple, and beyond. Kale tried to interfere, but the temple acted with precision. Energy barriers lifted him into the air, holding him suspended as he struggled in vain. "No, this power belongs to me," he shouted, but the temple's judgment was absolute. His greed, fear, and cruelty barred him from touching the artifact. He was cast out, the portal behind him closing with a final, resonant hum. With the warlord gone, Elias and Lyra turned their attention fully to the artifact. The energy began to spread, flowing outward through the temple's corridors, lifting walls and transforming the ancient chambers. Lights shimmered across the surface, revealing hidden pathways, libraries of knowledge, and records of civilizations long forgotten. The temple was awakening, responding to their unity and courage. Lyra felt tears prick at her eyes. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "All this knowledge, all this power, and it's meant to be shared."
Elias smiled, exhausted but exhilarated.
"And we get to be part of it. Humans and aliens, together." Legends, after all. The artifact's light began to settle, forming a stable, radiant orb floating above the pedestal. The energy around it no longer threatened, no longer tested. They had passed the final trial. The temple itself seemed to exhale, a gentle hum replacing the violent pulses. Elias and Lyra stepped back, watching as the chamber transformed completely. Walls shifted into open spaces, pathways leading outward to the mountains beyond. The once intimidating temple had become a beacon, a place of knowledge, power, and unity. "You've done it," the voice echoed in their minds once more, soft and approving. "The heart of the temple is awake. Legends have walked through, and the future has changed. Unity has triumphed. Lyra turned to Elias, a smile of relief and admiration on her face. We've done more than survive. We've awakened something that could change the galaxy. Elias shrugged, grinning, and we didn't even need luck this time. Outside, the sun of the alien planet was setting, casting golden light across the jagged cliffs. The temple gates, once closed to all but legends, now glowed with a welcoming light. Any who approached with courage, unity, and a pure heart could enter. The temple was no longer a test, but a gift to those willing to walk the path of courage and trust. Lyra extended her hand. Shall we see what the galaxy looks like now, after the heart has awakened? Elias took her hand, squeezing it firmly. Together, they walked through the gates, side by side. The wind carried a new sense of possibility, a promise of peace and unity among stars. Humans and aliens working together could achieve more than any one species alone. As they looked back at the temple, Elias could feel it pulsing with life, almost as if it were grateful. The legends had passed, but the story had only just begun. The temple would be a beacon, a place for heroes to rise, for civilizations to learn, and for courage to be celebrated. Lyra smiled, her eyes shining with hope. The prophecy. It was not just about the artifact. It was about what humans can do, what we can do together. Bathed Elias laughed softly.
Elias laughed.
Humanity united with friends from across the stars, walking through impossible gates, surviving every test. Sounds about right. She chuckled, shaking her head. And you survived because of more than courage. You survived because you believed in us, in yourself, and in unity. They walked on, leaving the glowing temple behind. The horizon stretched endlessly, filled with stars, planets, and possibilities they had only begun to imagine. The galaxy had changed that day, not because of a single power, but because two beings, human and alien, dared to walk together, to trust, to face every challenge, and to rise as legends. And somewhere deep in the heart of the temple, the energy pulsed softly, a heartbeat in sync with theirs, waiting for the next legends to walk through the gates. For Elias and Lyra, the journey had ended, but the story of courage, unity, and the human spirit, was only beginning. They were legends, and the galaxy would remember.